You're standing in the wheat fields of Kansas, golden waves stretching for miles, but beneath this postcard image lies a crisis the world isn't talking about. For nearly a century, American wheat was the global gold standard. The contracts from Kansas and North Dakota defined pricing, quality, and reliability for millers and bakers from Manila to Milan. But in 2025, that dominance is cracking. Quietly, and now rapidly, key global buyers are walking away. Canada, Australia, and even Argentina are taking America's place on the global grain throne. What's causing this silent earthquake in U.S. agriculture? And why is Washington only just waking up to a crisis that could cost tens of billions of dollars and permanently shrink the U.S. role in the global food economy? This isn't about one bad harvest or a price war. The decline of American wheat on the international stage is the result of a chain reaction, years in the making. Involving trade delays, political instability, certification issues, food safety fears, and supply chain fragmentation. The world isn't turning away from the US because of price alone. They are walking away because they don't trust the system anymore. Let's start with the Philippines, one of the most strategic wheat buyers in Asia. For 8 straight seasons, San Miguel Foods, a major Manila-based miller, purchased nearly 2.7 million tons annually from the US, combining hard red spring and soft white wheat. But in March 2025, something changed. They cancelled a key 110,000-ton renewal with US suppliers and signed a new contract with Canadian firm Vetera for 120,000 tons, plus an additional 40,000 tons from Australia's CBH Group. Why? Not price. It was political risk. The Philippine Customs Authority revised its port insurance coefficients, citing new concerns about delays and political instability in US grain ports. Suddenly, shipping wheat from Seattle cost $410 per ton in insurance, while shipping from Vancouver cost $225. That's not about distance. That's about risk premiums. And that premium is sinking US competitiveness. In France, the largest baking and milling economy in Europe, the trend is just as clear. French wheat imports from the US in early 2025 dropped to their lowest level in 2 decades, only 132,000 tons, while Canadian wheat imports surged to 218,000 tons. French officials cited irregularities in US carbon tracking documents, a critical issue as Brussels prepares to fully implement its CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. While Canada's Agriculture Ministry created QR code traceable documentation systems compatible with EU systems, the US is still using fragmented PDF files. French buyers don't want red tape. They want plug-and-play systems, and Canada gave it to them. Now shift your focus to South Korea. Seoul is one of the most technically rigorous markets for food imports. In 2025, they lowered the maximum glyphosate residue level to 30 parts per billion, stricter than most Western nations. Unfortunately for US producers, 28% of recent shipments tested between 200 and 400 ppb. That's not just non-compliance, it's a port risk. Retesting at arrival ports in Busan and Incheon caused major delays. Meanwhile, Canada, having implemented the Clean Farm Transition Program in 2023, reduced glyphosate use by up to 45% across prairie regions. Saskatchewan University's AI-powered drone modeling helped achieve 90% accuracy in residue risk reduction. As a result, Canadian wheat took 62% of Korea's import share in the first half of 2025. The US loss: over $410 million and roughly 6,200 jobs in North Dakota alone. Mexico offers yet another sobering picture. US-Mexico trade should be seamless, but border politics have changed that. Since 2021, migrant surges and security crackdowns have slowed food shipments, especially at the Mesa and Laredo crossings. X-ray scans, long inspections, and unpredictable delays made just-in-time logistics for Mexican mills impossible. Meanwhile, Canada inked a new through-rail deal providing fast, uninterrupted rail transport from Alberta to Baja California. By May 2025, Canada's wheat market share in Mexico jumped by 38%. US share dropped from 32% to 17%. That's not a decline. That's a collapse. The damage is now showing on the domestic front. Kansas silo inventories are up 44% year-over-year. Prices have dropped from $6.92 to $6.05 per bushel, with the break-even point hovering around $6.10. That puts thousands of mid-size farms in the red. USDA officials have called these temporary pressures, but that optimism may be misplaced. Purdue University's Food and Ag Policy Research Center warns that global grain buyers rarely reverse course quickly. Once a miller switches to a reliable supplier, it's a 5-year minimum before they even consider switching back. That means this shift could be permanent. So how did America lose its wheat crown? It wasn't just one failure. It was a system-wide breakdown. American exports are still largely managed by a fragmented, state-federal regulatory chain. Certifications aren't standardized. Export tracking isn't digitized. And communication between ports, labs, and customs offices can take days. Meanwhile, Canada built a $950 million Canadian dollars protein supercluster digital ecosystem. Every load of wheat from Saskatchewan to Manitoba is fully traceable, scanned, and carbon verified. Australian firms have copied the model. The US is falling behind, not in wheat quality, but in wheat logistics and credibility. The geopolitical overlay makes everything worse. Buyers are pricing in political chaos. Tariff threats. Regulatory shocks. Government shutdowns. Policy reversals. These aren't distant risks anymore. They are real, and they are expensive. Foreign customs authorities have started baking in Washington volatility into their import models. Insurance premiums are up. Delay costs are up. And confidence is down. Washington has proposed the Strategic Grain Reliability Act, a massive upgrade plan to digitize food safety, automate certification, and build export guarantees to restore confidence. But it's stuck in congressional limbo. Budget fights, partisan gridlock, and a lack of agricultural lobbying muscle mean this urgent plan may not even pass in 2025. While DC stalls, futures markets are reacting. Volatility in Chicago Board of Trade wheat contracts has increased by 22% year-over-year. Global buyers are demanding higher risk premiums. Some are abandoning CBOT benchmarks entirely, adopting Canadian or Australian indices instead. This isn't just market churn. It's a restructuring of global wheat pricing. What happens if the US loses its pricing power? The fallout could go far beyond the Midwest. Universities that rely on wheat research grants. Rail operators who ship grain across the plains. Ports in Oregon and Washington. Insurance underwriters. The rural economy is an ecosystem. When one leg collapses, the entire structure weakens. A 10 million ton drop in exports, now seen as likely, would shrink Midwest GDP by nearly $20 billion. Up to 45,000 non-farm jobs could vanish. This includes truck drivers, grain handlers, lab technicians, and export managers. America once led the world not because it was the cheapest producer, but because it was the most trusted. Buyers knew what they were getting. They could plan around American reliability. But that trust has quietly eroded. And unless it's rebuilt with speed and clarity, the world will simply move on. Because the message from global buyers is clear, they don't want the cheapest wheat. They want the most reliable partner. Countries like Italy are next in line. And unless Washington fixes the broken structure, not just with subsidies, but with systems, the losses will compound. American wheat doesn't need rebranding. It needs reform. It needs investment in technology, in export consistency, and in global diplomacy. There's no single fix. But there is a clear roadmap. Will Washington act in time? Or are we watching the quiet fall of a century-old export giant? If you found this video insightful, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who follows food, trade, or agriculture news, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives that connect the dots behind global headlines. Now we want to hear from you. Have you noticed changes in food prices or product sourcing in your country? Would you trust US food imports today more than alternatives? Drop your thoughts in the comments, we read every one. Here's a question to kick things off. Should global food buyers stick with the US out of loyalty, or follow the most stable partner, even if it's not America?